Hey guys, education system. So education system is something very important in our system basically. A lot of people go through it. You go to school, primary school, college, blah blah blah, university. So you spend a lot of time actually in your life, if a decade or more, right, going to school. And you have to you have to look at school actually and look at the function of school. The function of school is basically raising people to fit inside society. Unfortunately, the way it's done, it is done in a way that serves a relatively small number of people, but doesn't serve you. Because the key point is that the education system is there to make you fit inside a system which is already existing when you're born, right? So how can you make sure that the new people coming can comply and fit inside the system? You do this through the education. So you make sure that they fit inside the system and they compete inside the system. You make sure that they don't even question how the system is working. So you make them understand that the unit of the scale of success is money, and then during their life they have to make money to fit inside the system, to buy uh, goods and services, right? This is the way it works basically, right? And the system will mostly push information to you and not really listen to you. It doesn't really stimulate your critical thinking. It doesn't make you work as a group most of the time. You be taught to compete against other people. And why is that? I'll tell you why. Because it's actually serving just a relatively small number of people. The fact that you consume, the fact that you go into debt, the fact that your financial leverage will be negative, the fact that you will owe money to the system over decades to commit to buying a house or things like that, right? From my perspective, it's massively wrong. It shouldn't be working in this manner, right? But most of the people don't even realize it. They may realize when they are 40, 50, 60 that, yeah, there's a problem with the system. But will they do something about it? Unlikely. So for us, we realize it very early and we want to do something about it because the system should be centered on the people. Why don't we develop more creativity at school, right? Why don't we develop creative thinking? Why don't we teach people and kids to ask the right question? Why don't we stop pushing information, actually insane amount of information across different topics, subjects, which is actually pretty useless for your whole life, right? You realize that actually at different stage of your life, you've got to unlearn what you've been learning at school because it's actually totally, most of it's actually totally useless. And I spent so much time at school. And I went to some of the best school in France. But what I learned there was actually most of it totally useless to fit inside organization to actually be useful for other people, to actually create value for people. So it's important that you be aware of the function, of the current function of the education system, which is not at all in your favor. And being aware of the problem is one part. Working on the solution is another part. And there's ways to work on the solution. If you go to peopleizer.org, and the part which is called understand, there's a part which is called activate critical thinking. We think that activation of critical thinking is one of the key domain skills that should be developed. Because once you've got critical thinking, and critical thinking will start with asking the right question, questioning why, Why are we doing the thing in this manner? Why don't we do it in this manner? Start asking questions. And you realize that actually most of the time people cannot answer a question because they don't use critical thinking. So don't hesitate to start leading and to ask them to use critical thinking and to start changing the system, because you actually can do it. It's just that there's a relatively small number of people who have strictly no interest in you challenging the system, a system where they make an insane amount of wealth and develop their power in influence, right? And do basically whatever they want. So they do not want anyone to challenge the system. And that's the reason why the education system doesn't really raise people to be smart, but to be compliant to the system. The people who are able to memorize the highest number of things. I remember when I was at school, basically, I could memorize 3, 4, 5 pages of text. And at any exam, you just need to write this 3, 4, 5 pages of text. And that's totally insane, because memory doesn't really, memory is useful, but to what extent, right? You need to remember the right thing. This is the key point. Don't remember in terms of quantity, but remember in terms of quality. Here is critical thinking. What I need to remember about critical thinking is that I need to ask the right question. How do I ask the right question? Starting with the why of something, and then there's other things, right? So I'd love to hear your view on the education system. I hope this video is useful to you. Be aware of things around you. If you have kids, make sure you educate them in the right manner. Make sure you put them in an education system that actually educate them for society, for life, and doesn't educate them for money, right? It's important. Bye.